Alright guys, firstly I encourage you to follow up with me step by step to make the best use of this class. You will find all the images that I'm using in the description, so let's go! The first thing I'm going to start with is the background and the sky. I love to start with the sky because it is the main source of light, which will give the main look and color to the whole image. So I'm going to pick this picture and put it here. And firstly, we are going to get rid of these elements, the fire, the motorcycle, the tank. We will do this by selecting this part by the lasso tool and right click. Let's make a new layer and right click content aware fill, and let's exclude some parts that we don't want to be into our content aware part. And as you can see, here's some edges that needs to be edited. I will just erase them with the eraser. The next thing, we are going to get rid of this tank. The same way, we can also use the clone stamp tool. We'll pick a source from here and just remove it like that. Just remove this part. It will not be shown, so we will not give it so much attention. Just remove the block, the tank itself, and we're good to go. With the same way, we're going to remove this fire. Just clone stamp it, and that's it. We also have this tree. It looks bad, so we need to remove it by the clone stamp. And like this, pick a source from the right and from the left and just erase this part. Okay, so the background now is good to go. We need to extend the bottom part, so I will select it and click Ctrl J and just put it down, simple like that. The next element that will be put into the visual is the tank. So we're going to get the tank picture, but firstly I'm going to make groups because we will have a lot of layers. We need to be organized, and then pick the tank picture, put it here, and put it here. Okay. First thing, we need to get rid of this noise. The picture itself has a lot of noise, color noise. So we are going to go to camera raw filter and remove the noise from the details section. Just remove the noise from noise reduction slider right here, and color noise reduction also will reduce the noise. We will also go to the shadows. We will increase the shadows a little bit because it's result in some noise. Okay, here's before and here is after. I guess this is very good. So the next part, we are going to select the tank. The most precise tool we will use here is the pen tool, but you can select it with any tool you want. But the pen tool will give me the most accurate results, so I'll use it. I'll speed the process, assuming that you know how to deal with the basic tools. Okay, here's the tank after selection, and now we are going to erase the bottom part, but without the pen tool. We will use the soft edges brush because we want it to blend better with the grass into the ground, and we will also use a grass brush to give it a texture. From here you can download everything I'm working on into the attachments to the description section so that you can follow with me. Here's a grass brush. Just erase it because we want it to have the same texture as the ground. Just like that. This will make it All right, you can take all the time in the world to make the selection perfect, but I guess this looks good. So we'll put the tank right here, make it a bit smaller. We're trying here to match the same perspective and put the tank into its appropriate position. The next thing is we will use this picture, those guys' picture above the tank. We will put them above the tank. So I'll select them by the select subject tool, or you can use pen tool, whatever you want. Just select them with the select subject tool and then refine the mask. Okay, I'm just skipping the selection part because I'm assuming that this is an advanced course, so you know the basics, how to cut elements and so on. So here is the soldier's image put into the tank, and we are trying now to be organized. I'm going to put everything in a group because we'll have a lot of layers, and each layer will have a lot of adjustments, so we need to be organized because this make editing stuff flexible. This is the second image, and this is the third image of the soldiers that we are going to use. So I cut every image of those, and I'm now trying to put them into the appropriate scale and appropriate position. I'm trying to see how the scaling work, how big the guys and the tank. I guess right here is perfect. Okay, the other soldiers picture, I'm going to put it behind the tank because obviously there is no leg for this soldier, so I'm just hiding it behind the tank. I guess this looks okay. Okay, the next thing will be the fence layer. This layer will be in the foreground. As you know, if you want to make depths into our visuals, we need to make a foreground element, a background element, and the midground element. The foreground elements will be more contrast and somehow out of focus, and the background elements will be also not contrasty. So here I'm putting these rocks into the left. Okay, the next element we are going to use is these soldiers. We will put them into the right and trying to match the perspective and the position, the right position for them. I have speed up the cutting process, and now I'm trying to match the perspective. I guess this is good. So we will blend everything, colors and effects later on, but now we are giving the attention for the basics, for the composition, for the frame, because this is the skeleton of the design. Okay, I guess we will put it here. I give it the name of enemies at the gate, because as you can see here, the soldiers at the left and the right looks like they are this is a gate and the tank is opening it. I will use this rocks layer into the background so that it makes some depth, as I have shown before. Make it a little bigger. I guess this looks nice. We'll just make a mask here and delete these parts. Perfect. We'll duplicate this layer and put it into the right like that, but just tweak it a little bit. It's copied from the left. Just erase this part. Perfect. Okay, the next thing we're going to add is the helicopter. So I'm going to, this is just a PNG layer. I'm just take it and put it here. So now let's try to set our focal points. I'm using here the rule of third, composition rule. It simply tells you that these are the 4 points that you need to put your focal elements into it to make the composition looks good and interesting. But I guess here we need to get rid of this part. It doesn't look right like this, just with clone stamp tool. Okay, the next part is fires. So I'll just pick the fire layer, and I will now try to cut everything around the fires, and then we will refine the selection of the fire. So I'm using here the lasso tool. Just pick this part and press Ctrl J. This will make a new layer, and here we will use the mask and the brush tool to select everything we need. So I will just erase this part like this. You can use the pen tool, whatever you want, but I guess the brush tool is easier. And for these parts, I'll make the brush smaller to select these tiny parts, and also the fires part, because we need to have some type of transparency to fires, and I'll show you now how we can manage this. But this way works better for me. So after selecting these parts, how can we restore some transparency? We will just press select and mask from the properties panel, and using the refine edge tool from the top left here, we will get some of the transparency of the fires back like this. As you can see, we have just picked some pixels back. Press OK. As you can see here, this works not bad. And then we can erase some parts that we don't want. Okay, let's put it into its main place, and let's try to erase the rest of the pixels. Okay, here is how I selected it. It took some time, but the result, as you can see, is good. So this is the main composition, and here we put the element into its position. Now we're going to think about the values and colors and effects, and we will apply it into each layer by layer.